guys, we're back in the Silverado today. We're headed up to Lincolnton, North Carolina, and we're gonna head up to the old Harbor Freight. You guys can see I've got a 25% off coupon there, and no, don't try to use that code. I will have already used it by the time this video is over with. So basically what we're gonna be doing is we're kind of prepping for the engine install. I know we're a couple months away from that, but I will say this, lifting engines in and out of the truck, you know, we've got the 5.3, we've got the LT4, we've got the 427, and we still have that built 6 liter. So yeah, we've been using the hoist a lot, and I've noticed that almost the hydraulic ram is starting to go out. I mean, I haven't noticed it leak, but I've seen it get slower and slower, and also I've noticed that it's kind of like when you loosen it, it kind of drops a lot instead of it dropping a little. So we're basically going to be replacing that hydraulic ram with an air over hydraulic. This is actually going to be the second one of these that I've done. You guys will remember that I did the hydraulic press that we have. You know, we replaced that, and I've been overall happy with that. I've not had any issues with it. And for me, where the engine hoist is going to be living, you know, where I'm using it the most, it makes sense because my air compressor is literally right next to it. So we've got like 50 plus feet of air compressor hose. It's literally right next to it. So for me, it makes sense to do this conversion. Other people, it might not, but honestly, with that 25% off coupon, I think the hydraulic ram is normally priced at $119, the air over hydraulic. So that 25%, we'll be saving a good amount of money on that. Basically, we'll pay for taxes and whatnot. But yeah, so I want to do this upgrade, and also I'm going to go pick up a couple other things. Yeah, so let's go to Harbor Freight, get our parts, and we'll head home and start the modification. Alright guys, we ended up picking up the hydraulic ram, and like I said, yeah, it was $119 before sales, about basically $130 after tax, and that 25% off got it down to $96, tax and everything out the door, so I can't complain about that. We also picked up a couple other things. We finally got some time to work on this project, and we're kicking it off by upgrading our engine hoist. You guys can see we have the 1 ton from Pittsburgh brand from Harbor Freight. Here is the 8-ton ram. What I didn't realize, we're going from a 3-ton to an 8-ton. So the hoist only comes with a 3-ton. We're going to be upgrading to an 8-ton. So we'll literally be adding 5 tons of capacity to this engine hoist, but obviously it's an engine hoist. It doesn't lift that much weight. What we really got this for was the air over hydraulic setup, and that's going to be this part right here, the air over hydraulic, and actually the pump's probably behind it. So but yeah, so let's go ahead, get this thing opened up. All right, now that we got this opened up, you guys can actually see the air pump. It's over here, it's behind the tube, so you guys can see it on the little preview picture. Alright guys, you can see the factory 3-ton right here. You can also see the 8-ton next to it. Looking at the overall height, it looks like we're losing, I don't know, ½ inch to an inch, something like that. You guys can see the 3-ton is just a little bit longer and the 8-ton is a little bit shorter. So I think when the crane opens up all the way, you'll be losing a little bit of height. But I think the trade-off of having an automatic air over hydraulic, you know, lifting mechanism versus losing an inch or two, I think that's probably going to be worth it. So now we're ready to go ahead and install this. All you need is a 24mm wrench and a impact gun. I use an impact gun, you can just use a regular wrench, but those are 24mm bolts. Get everything lined up, get everything tightened down, and it should be good to go. Alright guys, there you go. That's pretty much going to be it for the ram install. Let's go ahead, get the air tank filled up, get some air pressure, and we can get this thing plugged into our air compressor, and we'll see how this thing works. All right, guys, we are right at about 100 PSI on the compressor, and I just wanted to make sure we filled it up, and we'll show you how fast this goes. All right, so that is at max height. And that's way taller than I am. And I'll be honest, guys, I never planned on using it this tall. Wearing hearing protection, I mean, you don't really need it because the compressor's off, but just cutting down on hearing damage or whatnot. But yeah, and if you guys do raise it this high, you may have to loosen it and then actually pull on it a little bit. So I've released it. Oh, actually, it's coming down on itself. First time I did this, you know, I had to, the first time we did that, I had to pull down a little bit because it wasn't moving. But now that we've cycled it a couple times, it looks to be good to go. So I actually just filmed that a second time on my phone, and it took about 55 seconds, give or take, to go from very bottom to all the way at the top. And there's never a situation I don't think you would ever use that, because if you had the actual extension out, it would be hitting the floor, so you'd already be up, you know, a foot or two to make sure you use the full length of the crane. I did have another upgrade for the setup, and that is actually going to be the loosening knob. You guys can see I have a billet aluminum piece. This is from Amazon, and it fit this without any issue. You guys might recognize that from a previous project, and that is the hydraulic press. I think we upgraded this last year sometime, and I knew I had a billet knob for this one. And I was like, what are the odds that that is the same size? You know, because it is Harbor Freight, and they're both Pittsburgh Rams. This one's obviously a little bit older because they've changed their color scheme. So I just took one of my hex bits, loosened that up, took that off, installed it over there on the Engine Hoist. And I bought that on Amazon a while ago. I want to say it was sub $20. It might have been like $12, something like that. So for 12 bucks, it's machined. You don't have to do anything. I have seen people 3D print those, and I'm kind of like, plastic, you're turning stuff, it gets hot in the summer, billet aluminum, ain't gonna melt, ain't gonna break. So I'm just gonna go ahead and order another one of those, because A, it's a bolt-on, and B, I know it's gonna work for both. I'd almost be willing to bet that any hydraulic ram that's marked as Pittsburgh, that aluminum billet knob probably fits on it. The only concern I might have is if you have a bottle jack and that loosening nut is really close to the ground, that might run into an impact where you don't have enough room between the knob and the floor or whatever's below it. You know, I could see that being an issue, but for this hydraulic ram, for the ram on the press over there, it works just fine. So we've got two more projects for today. One is left over from a previous project, and the second one I did have to pay for, and we picked that up when we picked up this hydraulic ram. So, and the one that we had to pay for, I picked it up because I was like, these came out like a year ago, actually about Black Friday, but they were not in the proper color. And if you guys can tell where we are, should give you a hint of what we've got, but let's just go ahead and show you. We picked up a usgeneral mini toolbox. Yes, I know it's kind of childish, but I did not want to buy the other ones that had, like, I think they were red, blue, black. There was another color. I don't remember what the original 4 colors were, but they've recently expanded them to the green, I think purple, and the gray. So since they had a new color out, I was like, well, it is 100% match, and I do want something I can throw my keys, my wallet, phone, whatever in, and I don't have a good spot out here. This will work just fine for that. Obviously, my toolbox is a mess right now, but obviously we're still in the middle of the Corvette updates. You guys can see that torn apart behind me. So I wanted something that I can organize a little bit better, and this little toolbox should take care of that. So, and there you go. There's a theatrical shot of the new toolbox. We basically have a box in a box. You know, nothing really new here. It's small. Put whatever little things in here, tools, wallet, phone, key, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's nothing really special about this box. Like I said, it's just something to place more stuff. And they finally have the correct color. If they'd come out with the gray a year ago, obviously I probably would have bought it, but I held off. I'm like, no, I want it to match. And Yeah, finally did. Now, pricing. Unfortunately, the regular ones are priced like $14.99, and since this is a new color, it is now $18.99 for these 3 colors. The green, the gray, and I think the purple is the 3rd color that's new. And yeah, so I'm like, I'm paying $4 more, whatever. I saw some people get these painted, wrapped, and whatever, and I'm sure they spent way more than like $15 or $20 or whatever these things cost. Now, these will not be on sale for Black Friday. I did double check that before I left the store, well, the store parking lot. I saw that was kind of an impulse buy. It's less than 20 bucks, so I bought it. And then I remember seeing the leaked images of the Black Friday ad because, you know, those things get leaked like a month out ahead of time. I checked, looked through all the pages. I think it was like 9 pages long, and the mini toolbox is not included on this year's Black Friday sale. I'm not saying it might not come, you know, or sooner or later, web special or whatever, but as of the printed ad, as of like the first week of November, it is not going to be on sale as far as I'm aware of. So yeah, 18 bucks plus tax and whatnot. And when it comes down to brass tacks, that didn't really cost me anything because we saved $35 on the hydraulic ram with that 25% off coupon. So we spent a little bit of that savings on that. Now, that's it for the paid upgrades. What we're going to do now is actually do an upgrade to our welding cart. Yes, there's crap all over it. Actually, this looks pretty good. I know there's still stuff on it, but our welding cart, I've been having to move it every time we mow. You guys can see the tractor behind it. Every time I have to mow, I have to move this thing. Well, it sucks not having 4-wheel steer. And with how often I've had to mow this year, I've had to move this thing quite a lot, and it really ticks me off every time I gotta move it because one end of it doesn't turn. We're actually using some leftover parts from our toolboxes on the right. You guys will remember that we first did a lift kit, you know, kind of a DIY lift kit. We made our own extensions. You can actually see that right here. These are the original wheels from the 32-inch or the 42-inch toolbox. Those were a different height than the 72 and the 56. And as we had shown in a previous video, we'd actually taken off all 4 of those wheels, swapped them out for the 72-inch wheels, and that way it's the proper height. There's no lift kit, everything is level and plain. You don't have to worry about that. With this thing, it should use the same wheels as the smaller box. So the small box in the middle, it should use the same height, and all we've got to do is take off our lift kit and swap these turn wheels for these straight wheels over here on the corner, and we should have a 4-wheel steer welding cart. I know this might sound kind of stupid, but you know, this is just a convenience thing. Every time I have to mow next year, and maybe one more time this year, we won't have to fight this thing with one end not having wheels that steer. So let's go ahead and get a floor jack this thing up. All right guys, you'll see a floor jack with a piece of wood up underneath our toolbox. We have the non-turning wheel removed. We have our turning wheel next to it, so we're going to swap those obviously. Then over here is our lift plates that we made, I don't know, a year ago, something like that. And that's all the hardware that we used for that. So we can add that hardware back to my bolt collection. I don't know what I'm going to do with the lift plates. And I'll be honest guys, I'm probably going to throw these out. I have no use for these short wheels. And I mean, unless I buy something in the future, but I'm not planning on buying any more toolboxes for a while, so we might just chuck these. But I am glad I kept these because I didn't know they were going to become part of this project when we did that whole toolbox setup like a year ago. All right guys, this might sound kind of stupid, but doing this with one hand would have taken both hands with the old wheel setup, and you can see these back wheels are turning without issue. So yeah, these are the set that came from factory, and this is the set that we put in. Yeah, that's awesome. This wheel swap on the welding cart might seem kind of silly, but honestly guys, it's the simple things in life, the convenience that makes things easier with your day-to-day, or for me, week to week with us having to mow and everything. You know, it's simple stuff like this that just makes the shop operate a little bit easier. And when you've got to move things out of the way, 4-wheel steer is pretty important. And the other thing that we gained is we actually gained 2 sets of brakes, if that makes sense. So we've got the set here that says on off. We also have that same set over here that says on off. So we can actually make our welding cart a little bit more solid if we ever are doing some important welding, that we can lock all 4 wheels down and not have it move at all. And so yeah, that's gonna be it for today's updates. We've updated our engine hoist, we've upgraded our welding cart, and then we got that little box for storage stuff in our bigger box. And so yeah, I'm going to call this video here. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more random shop updates, Corvette updates, truck updates, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. I'll try to find you part numbers for the hydraulic ram. These wheels I'm not really going to be able to help you with, but definitely that hydraulic ram. Also the billet aluminum knob. I did buy that on Amazon, so we'll drop you links for all that. Also, make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. We've got merch, stickers, we've got SS parts, and we've got used Corvette parts because we're in the middle of that wire harness swap. So check that on the website, and that's going to be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.